So the anti-gay hate bill in Arizona has been vetoed by Governor Jan Brewer. SB 1062 is dead as of Thursday. One person who's not at all happy about this is Tea Party Nation President Judson Phillips, who penned a little bit over-the-top op-ed about this and why he thinks this is an indication of tyranny on the march. And we're going to read some excerpts from his statement for you. He says, "Why is this bill so important, and what did it mean for not only Arizona but America? The issue can be boiled down to one word: freedom. A free man or woman controls their labor. A slave has no control over their labor." He goes on to say, "A free man or woman decides who they will work for and under what conditions. The slave cannot. The left and the homosexual lobby are both pushing slavery using the Orwellian concepts of tolerance and inclusiveness." We've got some more sections that we're going to get to at some point, but what do you guys think so far?
All right, so first of all, we define freedom, progressives do, as everyone having the same rights. So everybody's got the same rights. Great, you're free. You're not under anybody, you're not beholden or oppressed by anybody. They view that as slavery because then the government has to enforce those rights. Mm-hmm. Whereas they think freedom is no rules. So if I'm above you and I keep you down, good. That's I am stronger than you. That is free market. I put a gun to your head and hence I win, right? So they don't actually, it's really kind of anarchy, right? They don't really believe in, they say a strong defense and police, and so they're not even really quite in favor of the police unless the police are specifically protecting them, right?
And let's privatize them if at all possible.
Right, because if the cops or the government in any way said, hey, wait, you all have the same rights, they're like, what the how could we have the same rights? That's so intolerant. I want freedom.
Yes,
that's right. It is. They are moderate anarchists.
They literally see. I was talking about this with John before the show, that I was watching Tucker Carlson talk about the Arizona gay hate bill, and he literally said that being able to deny a gay couple a wedding cake, that's called tolerance. It's the opposite of tolerance. So they have this whole thing spun on its head. No, that's discrimination. That's not tolerance. Tolerance would be if you made them the cake even though you disagreed with their lifestyle. That's called tolerance.
I think in the last 3 years, there have been 3 or 4 stories about people who wanted a Nazi cake for their kid Adolf. Right?
Right.
Remember that story?
Yeah.
And then a couple stories of a gay couple that wanted a cake made for their gay wedding and somebody didn't want to make it. And now the touchstone of this debate is all about bakeries.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Well, why don't we jump to that portion of his argument?
Let's go.
He says, should a devout baker be required to create a cake for a homosexual wedding that has a giant phallic symbol on it? Or should a baker be required to create pastries for a homosexual wedding in the shape of genitalia? That's not our misspelling, that's his. Or should a photographer be required to photograph a homosexual wedding where the participants decide they want to be nude or engage in sexual behavior? Gay sexual behavior. Would they force a Jewish photographer to work a Klan or Nazi event? How about forcing a Muslim caterer to work a pork barbecue dinner? Now, some of those are, as we talked about, Ben and I before the show, those are good sort of philosophical, hypothetical questions, but that's not what's actually going on. There's not a lot of Nazi weddings, okay? And there's not a lot of penis cakes except for straight female bachelorette parties.
They already don't have to make the penis cake. That's not what they were. They didn't say, hey, I'm not making your cock cake. They just meant, I'm not making a cake that symbolizes same-sex marriage. That's all. They could already say no to a pornographic cakes.
Yeah, of course.
You don't have to make a, so this argument is bogus. And the way they keep couching it is the government shouldn't be able to force you to make a cake for a gay wedding. As if you're sitting on your couch watching the ball game and somebody from the government walks in, get up, make a cake. Yeah. That's not what's happening. These are companies that make cakes all fucking day long. Right?
Okay. So to that point, there's 2 things to mention there. First of all, this is incredibly similar, if not the identical situation, where you were running a diner in, let's say, in the middle of Alabama.
Right.
And they said, well, I don't want to serve that, guy, okay, I don't want to serve black people. And they say, you're taking my freedom away to not serve black people, man. Now this is like slavery. You're forcing me. You're making me make cake, pie, a sandwich. You're making me make sandwiches for black people.
Yes. Yeah.
You've taken my freedom away. Yeah. It's an identical argument.
Exactly. So go ahead.
But as we saw By the way, they make cakes all day long. Come on, that's great stuff. That's all they do. They make cakes.
Hey, can I just jump in there for 1 second on that point? Because he talks about Muslims are forced to do pork barbecue stuff. No, there was an actual story like that. It's not a barbecue, but guys, I think it was in Minnesota, Muslims working at a Target or something along those lines, a big store, and they didn't want to handle bacon or ham in the checkout. And you know what happened? They got fired, okay? And I said they should be fired, okay? Because that's the job. That's your job. Your job is checkout.
Yes.
And they have bacon and pork there. You don't want to work there? Go work somewhere
Plan
else.
B to pharmacy. You don't
Right.
get a fucking choose.
It's in a fucking package.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have the right to say you have to be tolerant of my views,
Right.
so don't eat bacon. What the hell? Look, go get another
What
job.
about, you know what? I don't. I'm a Christian, so I don't approve of same marriage, sex outside of marriage. So I don't want to be a checker and check out anybody who's a single mom. How about that? I don't want to check out somebody who's divorced. I'm against divorce. So those are the same crazy arguments you could use.
Yeah.
But they don't ever see them because they don't ever see themselves as being the victim of discrimination because they're the dominant culture.
Yeah, every straight wedding you've made a cake for, Arizona baker, if you actually knew everything about those people, you would find a lot of offensive shit that would make you not want to help them. You just happen to know a little bit more about the gay wedding because of the nature of it.
Yes.
Okay, you're being overly choosy. And also, by the way, I understand that they have a problem with or whatever, but you need to be able to put yourself in the position that what if all of a sudden Muslims controlled 80% of Arizona and they didn't want to make baked cakes for your fucking wedding, okay? Think about how you would feel. And empathy should be enough to make you realize that this is the same thing, but where empathy isn't enough in the case of many conservatives around America, that's where the government has to step in and stop you from passing unconstitutional discriminatory laws.
This is horseshit. This isn't a thing that's happening. This is not a thing. It is not a thing. There are no bakers who don't want to make cakes for gay people. It's just, there's one. It doesn't matter. We don't legislate based on one. So you know what that guy doesn't have to do? Don't make the fucking cake and nobody's going to sue you. John said it to me before the show. I'm booked that day. Just say that.
Yeah.
But we're not going to codify your hate into law.
Yeah. And then, by the way, half of the people who are defending the law are saying, oh, it's not about that at all. It's just, it's no shirt, no shoes. We're just trying to codify that. Half of them are trying to pretend it has nothing to do with being gay. The other half are like, why won't you let us hate gays?
Yes.
It is the antithesis of liberty. It is tyranny on the march.
One of my favorite
to a bakery.
One of my favorite parts of that was the idea that Jews would go to a Nazi baker. They're waking. Hey, where should we go get our wedding cake made? Oh, how about the local Nazi?
No, I think it's the other way around. It's a Nazi event. It's a Nazi wedding, and they'll be and they're like, Schneiderman says great cake. Let's get that. Let's go there.